There was such an obvious fear of giving offence in his manner, and he was such a timid, broken-spirited creature. If Nicholas had struck the wretched object, he would have slunk away without a word. But now he burst into tears. Oh, dear. Oh, dear. My heart will break. It will. It will. Hush. Be a man. You were nearly one by years, God help you. By years? Oh, dear, dear. How many of them? How many of them since I was a little child, younger than any of us here now? Where are they all? Whom do you speak of? My friends, myself, my... Oh, what suffering's mine have been! There is always hope. No, no, not for me. Do you remember the boy that died here? I was not here, you know. But what of him? I was with him at night, and when it was all silent, he cried no more for friends he wished to come and sit with him, but began to see faces round his bed that came from home. He said they smiled and talked to him, and he died at last, lifting his head to kiss them. What faces will smile on me when I die here? Who will talk to me in those long, long nights? They cannot come from home. They would frighten me if they did, for I don't know what it is. I should know them. Pain and fear. Pain and fear for me, alive or dead. No hope. No hope. The bell rang to bed, and the boy crept away. It was with a heavy heart that Nicholas soon afterwards, no, not retired, there was no retirement there, followed to his dirty and crowded dormitory. Upon this poor being, all the spleen and ill humour that could not be vented on Nicholas were bestowed. It was no sooner observed that he had become attached to Nicholas than stripes and blows, morning, noon, and night, were his portion. Squeers was jealous of the influence which his man had so soon acquired in the school, and Mrs. Squeers hated him, and Smike paid for all. 2 days later, the cold, feeble dawn of a January morning was stealing in at the windows of the common sleeping room, when Nicholas, raising himself on his arm, looked among the prostrate forms in search of one. "Now in!" cried Squeers from the bottom of the stairs. "You'd better be down directly, or I'll be down upon some of you in less time than directly. Where's that Smike?" Nicholas looked round again. "He's not here, sir." "Don't tell me a lie! He is!" "Don't tell me one. He is not." Squeers bounced into the dormitory and darted into the corner where Smike usually lay. The cane descended harmlessly. There was nobody there. "What does this mean? Where have you hid him?" "I've seen nothing of him since last night." "Come, you won't save him this way. Where is he?" "At the bottom of the nearest pond, for anything I know." "Damn you! What do you mean by that?" In a fright, Squeers inquired of the boys whether any one of them knew anything of their missing schoolmate.
Please, sir, I think Smike's run away, sir.
Ah! Who said that? Mr. Squeers made a plunge into the crowd and caught a very little boy. Do you think he has run away, dear sir?
Yes, please, sir.
And what reason have you to suppose that any boy would want to run away from this establishment? Ah! The child raised a dismal cry by way of answer, and Mr. Squeers beat him until he rolled out of his hands. He mercifully allowed him to roll away. What's all this here to do? What on earth are you talking to him for, Squeery? The cowhouse and stable are locked up, so Spike can't be there, and he's not downstairs anywhere, for the girl has looked. He must have gone York way, and by a public road. He must beg his way, and he could do that nowheres but on the public road. Now, if you take the chase and goes one road, and I borrow Swallow's chase and go t'other, what with keeping our eyes open and asking questions, one or other of us is moral sure to lay hold of him. The lady's plan was put into execution without delay, Nicholas remaining behind in a tumult of feeling. Death from want and exposure to the weather was the best that could be expected from the protracted wanderings of so helpless a creature through a country of which he was wholly ignorant. Nicholas was scarcely awake when he heard the wheels of a chaise approaching the house. Nicholas hardly dared to look out at the window, but he did so, and the very first object that met his eyes was wretched Smike, bedabbled with mud and rain, haggard and worn and wild. "Lift him out! Bring him in! Bring him in!" Smike, more dead than alive, was brought in and locked up in a cellar, until such time as Mr. Squeers should deem it expedient to operate upon him. The news that the fugitive had been caught and brought back ran like wildfire through the hungry community, and expectation was on tiptoe all the morning. On tiptoe it remained until the afternoon, when Squeers, having refreshed himself with his dinner, and an extra libation or so, made his appearance with a fearful instrument of flagellation, strong, supple, wax-ended, and new. "Is every boy here?" Every boy was there, but every boy was afraid to speak, so Squeers glared along the lines to assure himself. There was a curious expression in Nicholas's face, but he took his seat without opening his lips in reply. Squeers left the room, and shortly afterwards returned, dragging Smike by the collar. "Stand a little out of the way, Mrs. Squeers, my dear. I've hardly got room enough." "Now, what have you got to say for yourself?" "Spare me, sir. Spare me." "Oh, that's all you've got to say, is it? I'll flog you within an inch of your life. But I will spare you that." Ah! One cruel blow had fallen when Nicholas cried, "Stop! Who said that? Who cried stop?" "I did. This must not go on." "Must not go on? Must not. Shall not. I will prevent it. You disregarded all my quiet interference in this miserable lad's behalf. You returned no answer to the letter I wrote you, in which I begged forgiveness for him, and offered to be responsible that he would remain quietly here. Don't blame me for his interference. You've brought it on yourself." "Sit down, you beggar!" "I will not stand by and see it done. Look to yourself. By heaven, I will not spare you if you drive me on. Take care, for if you raise the devil in me, the consequences will fall heavily upon your own head!